with Jimmy Butler out for the season with a torn ACL, I believe that the Golden State Warriors have two options to what they should do moving forward. And before I give you those two options that I believe the Golden State Warriors should do, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, share, and tell a friend, tell a family member, tell whoever to support my channel. Unfortunately for the Golden State Warriors, Jimmy Butler injured his ACL. He's out for the year. He tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the remainder of this season and probably for a good majority, a bit of next season as well. It's a tough blow. It's a tough blow for the Golden State Warriors. And look, man, this team is currently 25-21. They are in 8th place in the Western Conference. But, you know, you look at the standings in the Western Conference, especially in that little play-in area, the Portland Trail Blazers, they're coming. They're 23-22. They're coming, in the LA Clippers, who might be the hottest team in the league right now. They're winners of 21 out of 24. I mean, the Clippers are just rolling right now, man. They are playing some incredible basketball. I think their record is like 20-24 or something like that. But they've been rolling. So the teams behind the Warriors are catching up to them. You know, when I'm talking about the Blazers and the LA Clippers specifically. And so with that in mind, you know, when I look at the Warriors, right, they've been kind of the kings of the league for the past 12 years. You know, they've won multiple championships, you know, with Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, and they had a 4-year stint when they traded for Kevin Durant, and he was, you know, the Warriors were just dominating the league, and then Kevin Durant leaves, and then the Warriors have a little bit of a down year, and then, you know, they won a championship in 2022, right? And so this Warriors team has just been just a model of consistency in the NBA for the past 12 years. And so, and like they've done things the right way. But as we've seen with the Golden State Warriors, ever since they won the championship, things haven't been going all that great. You know, the following year in 2022, 2023, they had a good year. They were the 6th seed. They won, I want to say, was it 47 games, 47 games, something like that. They were the 6th seed. And then they beat the Sacramento Kings, who at that time were the surprise of the league, and then they lose in the second round to the Lakers. So that was in 2022, 2023. Then the following year in 2023, 2024, the Warriors were in the play-in. They were the 10th seed. They lose in the play-in. Eliminated, despite having a winning record. And then the following year, 2024, 2025, the Golden State Warriors were the 7th seed and the play-in. You know, they beat the Houston Rockets in the first round, and then they lose in the second round to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And so when you look at the Warriors and you look at where this team is at, ever since they won the championship, they've been basically like the Western Conference better version of the Atlanta Hawks. Like, they've mostly kind of been a play-in team. You know, like at best they're the 6th seed, but for the most part, the Warriors have kind of been in this 6 to 10 range in the Western Conference for the past, you know, 3.5, 4 years. And so and unfortunately, Jimmy Butler, he injured his ACL, which is unfortunate, which is awful. And that was a big blow. But even with Jimmy Butler, the Golden State Warriors were the 8th seed. You know, and this is a team that you look at the Western Conference, you know, it's Oklahoma City, it's San Antonio, it's Denver, it's Minnesota, it's Houston. The Phoenix Suns have been a surprise of the league. You got the Lakers. And so, and I'm looking at the Warriors, and this was with a healthy Jimmy, and I didn't see a pathway of this team ever being a contender in the Western Conference, you know, with what they had constructed. And that was with Jimmy healthy, and then Jimmy gets injured. And so I look at this Warriors situation, And I just think they're just in a rough spot. And for me, I believe the Golden State Warriors have two options that I believe that they should be looking at moving forward. And those two options, the first option being make a run at Giannis. As tough as in some ways unlikely of that possibility might be, they should try. They should try to make a run at Giannis. You know, who knows? Maybe Giannis, because we all know his time is up in Milwaukee. The time for Giannis to demand a trade. I mean, I've been saying it on my YouTube channel for months. The Bucks are delaying the inevitable with Giannis. Like the Bucks either should trade Giannis or Giannis should just ask out. And when he does ask out, I would imagine that one of the teams that Giannis is going to have on his list are the Golden State Warriors, because Giannis loves him some Steph Curry. And I think Giannis and Steph will be a fantastic fit, even as aging as Steph Curry is now. And so if you're the Golden State Warriors, and look, I don't know if the Golden State Warriors have the best package for a Giannis, but I don't think they have like a terrible package. Like they have all their picks, which I think kind of matters. And if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm like, man, I want all of your back end picks if I'm the Bucks, because if I'm the Warriors, because Steph Curry's 37 years old. Like like how's Steph Curry going to be in 2 or 3 years? And so if I'm the Bucks, I'm asking for all the Golden State's picks. I'm asking for, and look, the Warriors have decent young talent. Interesting, but decent. And so if I'm the Bucks, I'm probably going to ask for Kuminga. Yeah, Kuminga has kind of been disappointing, and he's had his own drama with the organization, but he's talented. Like, there's no denying Kuminga's talent. And rumors-wise, the Bucks have had some level of interest in Kuminga in the past. And so maybe you probably ask for him. You probably ask for Jimmy Butler's contract. And maybe you ask for like pods or something like that. And so if you're the Warriors, the first option is you go all out for Giannis, because you want to make things right with Steph Curry. You want to make things right with your face of the franchise that's been with that organization for now 16 years. Now, 16 years, 15, 16 years, 17 years or something like that. He's been in the league, like Steph Curry's been in the NBA since 2009. And so you're looking at 17 years. And so you want to make things right. You want to give him an opportunity to win a championship. And Giannis and Steph, everyone would love that. You know, and that could put the Warriors back on the map to compete with the Denvers and the Oklahoma Cities and the Spurs and that group. And so I think that's the first option for the Warriors. But here's option 2. Here's option B. In the event that you don't get Giannis. And chances are for the Warriors, as much as I believe that they should make a run at Giannis, it's not a guarantee that they're going to end up with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, let's just be real about it. Because there are teams like you got the Houston Rockets. You got the Miami Heat. You know, you got the Orlando Magic. You know, there's gonna be a lot of teams. Oh, maybe even my Hawks. Even though I would advise against that if I were the Hawks, because I am not giving up Jalen Johnson, and I'm not giving up that Pelicans pick. And so, if I were the Hawks for Giannis, and so there are some teams that could outbid the Warriors for Giannis. But again, to option B, if the Golden State Warriors do not end up with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he ends up on another team, I think it's time for the Warriors to trade Steph Curry and rebuild and start over. Yep. Let me rephrase that. If the Golden State Warriors do not end up with Giannis, and their run for getting Giannis fails, and he ends up somewhere else, if that indeed happens, I think the Golden State Warriors should trade Steph Curry and go into a rebuild, because I think it's time. I think the Warriors have two options. Either make a run at Giannis Antetokounmpo, or they should trade Steph Curry. And the reason I feel that way when it comes to the Warriors trading Steph Curry is, outside of getting Giannis, I just don't see another move that the Warriors can make that can elevate them in the Western Conference for them to be a championship contender. I just don't see it. I don't see a pathway for the Warriors outside of trading for Giannis that I look at and say, man, this team can win a championship. This team can beat OKC. This team can beat San Antonio. This team can beat Houston, Denver, Minnesota, the Lakers, Phoenix. They're coming. They're on the rise. Even Portland. I kind of like what Portland's building. They're like Danny Avdija should be an all-star. They're building something interesting. They got these young upstart teams in the Western Conference. I'm looking at the Warriors right now, and I just don't. If they don't end up with Giannis, and chances are they probably won't end up with Giannis, just based off of how many teams are going to go after him and the amount of teams that could outbid the Warriors, is Giannis. And so there's going to be a lot of teams after him outside of the Warriors. But if they don't end up with Giannis, I don't see the move. I've seen the rumors of them being interested in Trey Murphy of the New Orleans Pelicans. I like Trey Murphy of the Pelicans. I'm telling you, Trey Murphy is not moving the needle for the Warriors if you're talking about competing for a championship. It's not happening. I like Trey Murphy. He's good. Trey Murphy and Steph Curry and whatever's left of Draymond Green, that's not winning anything. It's not happening. Michael Porter Jr. I like Michael Porter Jr. He's having an awesome year. Another guy I think should be an all-star, even despite the fact that the Nets have 12 wins. I believe Michael Porter Jr. should be an all-star. He's been fantastic for the Nets. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. and Steph Curry and Draymond Green is moving the needle. I don't see it happening. Lauri Markkanen, that's been a name that's been bandied about for years, even though I don't think Utah's moving him. But even if they did, Lauri Markkanen, Steph Curry, I don't think that's moving the needle. And so if you don't, outside of Giannis, there's no move out there for the Warriors that I look at and say, man, that's the move that's going to put us over the top. That's the move that's going to get us to the next level. If there's no move out there like that, well, then what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we just going to hold on to Steph Curry because he sells tickets and he brings the Golden State Warrior fans to the arena and he brings good vibes? Are we just going to hold on to Steph Curry for the next 3 or 4 years and just be a mediocre team for the next, 3-4 years? Is that what we're going to do if I'm the Warriors? If that's your plan? If you don't end up with Giannis, that's what we're going to do? I think the Warriors, if they don't end up with Giannis, should take strong steps. Regardless of what Golden State Warrior fans think, regardless of what the public outrage might be, the Warriors, if you do not end up with Giannis Antetokounmpo at some point over the next, 6 to 7 months, if that doesn't happen, the Warriors should trade Steph Curry. They should trade him to a different team, get draft picks back, get as many assets as you can for Steph Curry, and start over, rebuild. Look, man, all dynasties come to an end. It happens. It happens to the greatest. The Chicago Bulls won 6 championships with Michael Jordan. Eventually, that dynasty ended up being over. The Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, they won 3 championships. Eventually, that dynasty ended up being over, and the Lakers ended up retooling their team. And then eventually, with Kobe Bryant and Paul Gasol, they won, 2 more championships. Sometimes dynasties come to an end. And I think for the Golden State Warriors, I think their run is over. And it's okay. It's okay that their run is over. Look, man, they had an opportunity to extend their window. But unfortunately, they missed on some draft picks. You look at the draft in 2020. They had an opportunity to take LaMelo Ball and Tyrese Halliburton. They had an opportunity to take LaMelo Ball and Tyrese Halliburton. They took James Wiseman, and that ended up being a miss. In 2021, they had an opportunity to take Franz Wagner of the Orlando Magic, who went to the Orlando Magic. They had an opportunity to take Franz Wagner. They took Jonathan Kuminga. And Jonathan Kuminga, it's been a headache. You know, some talent, some flashes, but the Warriors have kind of held him hostage for whatever reason. They should have moved him 2 years ago. Instead, they held on to him too long, and now his trade value's kind of dwindled. And so they've made mistakes, and they haven't really drafted great over the past few years, especially in the 2020 and 2021 draft. But at the end of the day, man, even though they made those little drafting errors with their situation when it was trying for them to extend the run a little bit, it didn't happen. They missed on it. And I think for the Warriors, I think it's time for them to acknowledge their misses. And like I said, if they don't get Giannis, and look, and the odds are probably against them of them not getting Giannis at some point over the next 6 months. If they don't end up with Giannis, I honestly don't see another choice. I really don't. And it's painful for Golden State Warrior fans to admit it, but I also think it's necessary, man. Sometimes change is the best long-term outcome. Change is needed sometimes. It's hard breaking up. Some of the athletes you love, you gotta let them go sometimes. You gotta let them go. We all as sports fans deal with it at some point. You know, a lot of Atlanta athletes that I love, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Chipper Jones, just to name a few. Joe Johnson, Al Horford. At some point, it's time to move on. Just a couple of weeks ago, I dealt with it with Trae Young. I acknowledged that it was time to move on from Trae Young. It took me until the first 7 games that Trae Young came back, and I saw the Hawks go 0-7, and with Trae Young playing the 5 of them, and I saw how bad the defense was with Trae Young in the lineup. And after that conclusion, I finally acknowledged, okay, yeah, it's time to move on from Trae, because he wasn't the solution anymore. And that's just kind of where it is, man. And for the Warriors, look, man, they're in a tough spot. The Jimmy Butler thing is painful. Him being out for the year sucks. But if we're going to be honest with ourselves, he's 36 years old. By the time he gets healthy, he's going to be 37. He's going to be nearly 40 years old. Unless you're LeBron James, there's not many near 40-year-olds that are going to be dominating the league for the next 2-3 years. Like LeBron James and Steph and Kevin Durant, you know, they're anomalies, you know. And so I just think for the Golden State Warriors, man, it's time to come to Jesus moment. It's going to have to happen at some point. And like I said, man, look, I think the Warriors have 2 options. They either make a strong push to get Giannis Antetokounmpo so he can make last run with Steph Curry, or they should trade Steph Curry. It's either one or the other. And I don't think there's an in-between. And so for the Warriors, they got some decisions to make in the future moving forward. And we'll see what direction they choose.